Hello, Dave and team. This is Christoph with Kaiserworks. I'm going to walk us through sort of rapid fire four different subject items. We're talking about drapes in this first space. We're on the third floor lounge and community area. We're going to have one run of drapes that extends from the bottom of the wide flange here. We're going to have a new track that's installed um, right off of the bottom flange of that wide flange that's going to run in this direction to this beam here. We invariably will have a gap, and we think we're okay with that. A new track will be on this side over here with a slight radius. We're hoping for something around 9-inch diameter radius on that far side over there, and that will extend to this other side over here. These drapes would pocket against this solid wall at this location here, and then on this side these would stack against this portion of solid wall. Zooming outside the building, we actually think this composes very nicely, adds some softness to the architecture. So we're showing some drapes actually stowed down here on the second floor right now. With this being opened, we do propose automated, so these can be push button and they retract and open sort of on command in that fashion. I'm going to now zoom us down to the northwest corner of the building. And in similar fashion, we think these need to match because they're both visible from the exterior of the building. So whatever the fabric we dial in at this location here will be the same for this entire length of the western elevation here. That track in the ceiling plane, it's going to be recessed in the ceiling plane, will have a similar radius on this corner here, come across another similar radius here, and they would stack against the blank wall that is the west wall of the utility room located right here. So we'd like to initiate some new conversations with Athena to get first some sample material options in the conversation, but also just talk about the ratio between our length of track and our areas where we have possible to stack drapery. I'm going to switch now to looking at some imagery that we put together. These images all speak to different aspects of the drapes, and if I was to point to a single image with the quality that we're trying to capture, it's probably somewhere in here. We'd like the drapery color to match the wall as closely as possible. We want transparency, but not too much transparency. This, I believe, is going to be letting too much of that 3 to 6 p.m. light into the building. This is probably too opaque, but maybe not dramatically too opaque. This down here I think would be too opaque. So dialing in the opacity slash transparency of that's going to be key to getting this right, and also of course the color, and will be part of that process. This image here speaks to the first floor primarily, and what we'd like to see is a recessed track that flushes out with the drywall. In our scenario here, we would have our glazing wall, or let's call this outside here. We'd have our glazing wall very close to that track, so we're going to need to have that track recess occur just a few inches off of that mullion, such that we allow the adequate space for those curtains to bunch. Moving now to the reception desk on the first floor. This was at last count our design approach. We were working with this idea of taking the facade material that we have on the outside and using it, incorporating it in a design of a desk that is similar in profile to the third floor. We're suggesting moving away from that now. These have been decisions made in conjunction with talking to Jose and team regarding the ability to make this a material that somebody can stand up against without rock and debris falling off of it. There's a few other concerns. We actually felt in the end that this was feeling cold and corporate, and we wanted to move away from that. We're introducing a new idea that stems from the level 1 conference table, which we're having fabricated currently with the scuba tanks. Borrowing from that language, we have an exciting design that we hope you like as much as we do, using a much larger propane tank. And this, I believe, is in the area of a 40-foot diameter propane tank that we will plasma cut and then join with tanks that we're using for the community table. So these right here are similar, or I think they might be the same diameter as the tanks that we're using for the community table, and using 3 of those as the feet for this much larger object in the space. We feel the softness, the geometric softness of this is much better as something that you can approach from the north and the east as well, or sorry, from the north and the south as well as from the west. So the softness lends itself to its position in the room. And then something else we like about it, being a semi-reflective aluminum, it's going to be picking up the warmth that is in whatever is being projected on the screen, whatever is coming from the floor. Here's another view of it here. The top of this we're seeing as the same marble that we have just across the room in the form of our coffee tables. And so we're working hard to tie in elements with existing language without it feeling like there's a bunch of competing objects in the room that are all sort of screaming for attention. Instead, this is something that feels like it's of the same breadth of the language we've already established. It reinforces the design of the building and the FF&E selections that we've made to this point. So we'd love to hear your input on this. This does still obviously accommodate 2 people working at this workstation. And I'm going to move as quickly back to the digital model to talk about another piece of furniture, and that is in this small conference room right here. We had proposed a few different iterations. None of them really hit the mark, and I'm just going to show us a few, 2 other options. This is our Kaiserworks 30-foot table, which we can do in many different base colors. This is a 30-foot length of 3/4 inch steel rod that's bent into this configuration. And then for this particular scene that we're looking at here, the idea would be that we do a custom top 5-foot diameter that is the inverse of what we're doing for the workstations. The workstations have wood top with a white edge band. We would be inverting that in this scenario. Another iteration of this would be an entirely maple top. We are trying to bring warmth into that space because we have our travertine flagstone tile floor beneath. We do have an area rug that we're proposing for the space, but we're sitting inside of a glass cylinder, and so some warmth is something that we think would be good, and this nicely ties to the workstations that are just across the space. Alternative to that, we found this Florence Knoll round table. It doesn't meet the softness in actuality, but we do think that the sort of warmth of the marble would I think the space would be amenable to a form like this, but it certainly is another hard surface which we optimally would be getting away from. Moving now, and I apologize the rapid fire, I'm trying to keep this as concise as possible. Moving now to the RCP. I'm going to be calling out some things that we need to address with the RCP. I'm going to zoom in slightly here. Some of this was communicated previously to Jerry and Boyan. We just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. The detail that was provided for the curbs for the HVAC units was not constructed properly, so these need to be redone. And because they're being redone, it is our hope that we can perhaps use the opportunity to locate the registers where they were originally and have been located in the reflected ceiling plan. So we have here called out AC unit stands and ductwork roof openings do not match structural details. Because we need to restructure those penetrations anyway, our hope is that we can locate them on the south side of this beam, as we have had in our RCP, and those locations are shown there. This run of skylights we've had another round of discussion today with the skylight company, and we think we're on track with a solution for getting those curbs built at the height we'd like them to be built at. Shown right here in blue are the locations of the UV light fixtures that would be coming out should we be moving forward with these skylights. This over here is a typical small roof deck opening detail for the air conditioning units. We just want to make sure that people are reading these details before we go around. I think this may be the 3rd round on, or maybe this is the second or third round on these roof penetrations. We want to make sure these get dialed in correctly. We're trying to use this as an opportunity. The fact that we have to fix this one thing, we're hoping that we can actually move the AC registers in the location that we had previously. These were, we think, mistakenly understood as additional pendant lights. These will be coming out. So I realize this was a lot all in one video, but we wanted to get this to you in concise fashion. Please let us know your thoughts and if you have any questions on this. Thank you.